Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. You're in a cafe, right? Comfy chairs, smell of coffee, maybe some pastries just out of the oven.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And there's this slight buzz, this nervous energy,
Mm.
because you're there with a few others to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, money.
Ah, yes. The M word.
Exactly. And specifically, that other word, budget, the one that makes people kind of squirm.
Yeah, definitely carry some baggage. And you, our listeners, you've actually set the stage perfectly by sharing the source material with us. We're looking at Chapter 1 of The Art of Cash Flow Management.
Right. The request was about budgeting, but the guide in this chapter, he takes a sharp turn almost immediately, doesn't he?
He really does. It pivots away from that traditional budget idea pretty fast.
So this guide, Jordan, the description is great. He's not your typical finance guy in a suit. Smart casual, but with this, like, bright pocket square and colorful socks.
He sounds approachable.
Totally. Easy grin, maybe makes a joke about pastries or about Jerry needing to read all the fine print, instantly lowers the tension around the B word.
And his mission, which is kind of our mission for this deep dive, is to unpack his approach. Moving beyond budgeting to something, well, he frames it as more empowering.
Yeah, so we're going to pull out the core ideas, the key terms, the practical steps from just this first chapter.
Exactly. It's presented as the absolute foundation. You got to get this mindset shift first, according to the source, before you build anything else.
Okay, so where does it kick off? It starts with Raj, right? One of the people in the cafe group. He just comes out and says it. We need help budgeting.
Yeah, the classic cry for help. So relatable. Who hasn't felt that?
And Jordan's reaction is pretty dramatic. The source says he gives this visible shudder, like theatrical.
Right. It's a bit much, maybe, but it instantly signals, okay, we're not doing that. He's setting up his alternative right away.
And he explains why he hates traditional budgets. What does he say?
Yeah.
Compares them to New Year's resolutions?
Exactly. Good intentions, but you break them by, like, the second week of January, and then you just feel guilty, like you failed again.
He calls them restrictive, doesn't he? Beige.
Yeah, beige. Like bland, boring, uninspiring, confining, not liberating.
And that analogy about decaf versus espresso, what's that about?
It means traditional budgets, in his view, are just too weak for the job. They focus on cutting back, deprivation, but they don't give you the real energy, the oomph you need to actually take control. You need something stronger, more direct.
And you see how deep the old way runs with Zara's reaction. Her mom did the whole budget thing, even color-coded spreadsheets.
Oh, yeah. It shows how ingrained that should is. We should budget this way. Even if it feels awful or doesn't work for us, it's the standard advice.
So the chapter kind of acknowledges all that pain and baggage.
And then flips the script, offers something totally different.
Which is his term, cash flow management. It just sounds different, doesn't it? More proactive.
That's the whole point. He says it sounds more like adulting, more positive, like you're in the driver's seat.
Less you can't have that. And more.
More. Okay, here's what I do have, and here's where I'm telling it to go. It's about understanding and directing, not just restricting.
Which leads to that director analogy. I really like this one. Money is your cast and crew.
And you are the director. You decide where the resources go, what scenes get funded, which actors get the big roles. You're making the calls.
That's the big mindset shift right there, isn't it? You're not just watching your money happen to you.
You're making it happen. You're directing the flow, guiding it towards your goals, the story you want to create. It's all about intention, agency.
Okay, so if I'm the director, I need to know my cast and crew, my resources. Where does the chapter start with that? Money coming in.
Exactly. First key piece, cash inflow. Jordan defines it super simply. All the money coming into your universe. Nice and broad.
And he uses the cafe group to show different types. Zara and Raj, the younger pros, their main thing is job wages.
Right. And he's specific. It's the net pay, after taxes, deductions, the actual cash hitting your bank account. That's what you work with.
Makes sense. Then there's Linda, the entrepreneur. Her situation's different. Business income.
Yeah, and the source calls that a roller coaster, you know? Variable. Some months great, some not so much. That's a different challenge than a steady paycheck.
Plus, she has rental income, too. Rental income. Another stream.
Often more stable than business income, but still needs managing.
And Jerry, the retiree, his inflow is retirement funds.
CPP, OAS, maybe company pensions. Jordan calls these solid, predictable, the gold standard, shows how income changes through life.
But it's not just the big stuff. The chapter says you need to count everything, right? Interest, dividends.
Side hustles, even small stuff. Zara's TikTok, which she jokes is just a trickle funding her other habits.
Love the honesty. But the point is, no amount is too small to list.
That's the first big action step from the chapter. Identify every single income source. Map it all out.
Practical advice? Write it down.
Yeah.
Look at statements. Figure out your average monthly inflow if it varies.
Yep. Gotta know your baseline. Can't direct the movie if you don't know how big your cast and crew is.
Okay, inflow identified. Now for the other side, the outflow, where the money vanishes.
Oh, yes. Cash outflow. Raj's "it just disappears" feeling, Jordan calls it the Great Vanishing Act, feels mysterious, maybe a bit out of control.
So the first step to solving the mystery, tracking everything.
And this is where he brings in that brilliant David Attenborough analogy. You're not judging yourself, you're just observing.
Observing your lattes like they're wildebeest. I love it.
Exactly. It takes the shame out of it. You're just a financial scientist gathering data on your spending habits. No judgment, just pure observation.
Which is crucial because Zara makes a good point. Tapping your phone makes spending feel frictionless, almost invisible.
It is harder now. Money just seems to evaporate with a tap. The chapter acknowledges that, but says, it's still doable.
It mentions tools, right? Apps like Mint, YNAB.
Yep, apps that link to your accounts, auto-categorize. Jordan kind of smirks at the YNAB name.
Yeah.
You need a budget, given his stance, but admits they're useful tracking tools.
Or you can go old school. Notebook. Spreadsheet.
Totally. The key thing isn't the specific tool. It's the consistency. Whatever method you'll actually stick with, that's the one.
And sticking with it leads to those aha moments. Or maybe oh wow moments, like with Zara's Uber Eats.
Oh, that anecdote is powerful. Really illustrates the point. Jordan asks her about her TFSA contributions. What was it, like $50 a month? Sometimes.
Yeah, kind of inconsistent. Then he asks her to check her Uber Eats for the last month.
You can just picture her scrolling, the look on her face changing.
And bam, $559.50 on food delivery in 1 month.
Her reaction, oh wow, it's that undeniable moment of data hitting you.
And Jordan's response is key, isn't it? No shame. He's almost excited. Awareness. Powerful, illuminating data.
Exactly. It's not bad. It's just information. Information she didn't have 5 minutes ago.
And then the punchline. Her Uber Eats habit is out-earning her investment portfolio. Oof.
That puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Where the money's power is actually going right now. As Jordan says, see? Not scary, just informative. Now you know.
Now she can choose if that $560 aligns with her goals. It's not about banning delivery. It's about conscious choice.
And it's not just her. Linda admits her fabric shopping adds up, too. We all have those things, right? The little leaks.
Totally. Discretionary stuff that seems small each time but becomes huge over a month or year. Tracking brings it out of the shadows.
Makes the invisible visible.
Okay, so you've tracked. You've got this pile of spending data. What's next? Bringing order to the chaos.
Yes. Creating cash outflow categories. And again, the emphasis. This isn't about restriction, it's about clarity. Like sorting mail bills here, junk there.
Makes sense. And the chapter gives 4 main categories. First up, fixed needs.
Right. The must-haves, non-negotiables, the big rocks. Usually the same amount each month.
Like rent or mortgage.
Yep. Rent, mortgage, strata fees, property tax, loan payments, student, car basic utilities like heat and hydro, insurance, home, auto, life. The essentials you're locked into.
Got it. Pretty stable stuff. Then variable needs. Still essential, but the cost changes.
Exactly. Things you need, but the amount fluctuates. Groceries are the big one, and Jordan jokes, not the fancy cheese, Linda, just the basics.
Oh. So groceries, gas, transit passes, maybe childcare, basic phone internet.
Precisely. Necessary, but the monthly bill can bounce around a bit.
Okay, now the really interesting one. Once discretionary spending, where joy and regret often overlap.
This is all about choice, non-essentials. Lifestyle stuff. This is where Zara's Uber Eats lives, Linda's fabric, Raj's craft beer nights, Jerry's fancy sports channels.
Dining out, movies, concerts, hobbies, subscriptions you forgot you had, clothes beyond the basics, vacations.
All that fun stuff. And importantly, this is the category where you usually have the most flexibility to make changes if you need or want to.
Okay, and the last category, not an afterthought, you said. Financial goals, future you.
Yes, this is crucial. Money you are actively choosing to send towards your future.
So like extra debt payments.
Oh, yep. Paying down debt faster, especially high-interest stuff. And critically, contributions to savings and investments, TFSA, RRSP, FHSA, RESP, whatever you're using, paying future you.
And this is where the emergency fund fits in, right? The chapter really stresses this one. Jerry asks how much you need.
It gets its own focus because it's so foundational. Jordan calls it your financial superhero, your safety net. for when life, happens.
Throws you a curveball, like losing your job or
Right.
a big medical bill.
Exactly. Or the car breaks down, the furnace dies, unexpected, expensive stuff that can totally derail you if you're not ready.
And the timing is important. Build this before going hard on investing.
Definitely. It's the foundation. Trying to build wealth without a safety net is just risky. One bad event can force you to sell investments at the wrong time or go into debt.
So the target, 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses.
Right. And essential means your fixed needs and variable needs, not your total spending, including all the fun stuff. Just enough to keep the lights on and food on the table if your income stops.
Which makes Raj go, whoa, 6 months. That's a lot.
It does sound like a lot, especially starting out. The chapter gets that, but it's about having that goal, making it a priority within your future, your spending, and chipping away at it.
And where should you keep it? Needs to be safe and liquid. Liquid meaning easy to get to.
Exactly. Safe from losing value and accessible quickly without penalties. Not tied up in stocks, not locked in a GIC.
And maybe not too easy to get to for non-emergencies, like not in your main checking account for weekend sales.
Right. Keep it separate. The ideal place mentioned is a high-interest savings account, HISA. Safe, liquid, earns a bit of interest, checks all the boxes.
That fire extinguisher analogy really sticks. Hope you never need it.
But you'll be incredibly glad it's there if you do. It buys peace of mind, reduces that financial stress.
Okay, good stuff on the emergency fund. The chapter also tackles variable income, right?
Yeah.
Like Linda's situation.
Yeah, great question she asks. How do you manage when income is all over the place? Super relevant for freelancers, business owners, commission folks.
So what's Jordan's advice there? Look at averages.
Yeah, step 1. Calculate your average income over a longer period, maybe 6 or 12 months, smooths out the peaks and valleys, gives you a more realistic baseline inflow.
And build a bigger buffer. Emergency fund closer to 6 months, maybe even more.
Makes sense, right? More unpredictability needs a bigger cushion.
And for business owners like Linda, separate accounts.
Crucial advice. Keep business and personal finances separate. Pay yourself a regular fixed salary from the business account to your personal account.
So even if the business income jumps around, your personal income stays steady. Makes personal cash flow management way easier.
Exactly. Creates predictability where there wasn't any. He flags it as a bigger topic for later, but that's the core idea.
Okay, so we've got inflow, outflow, tracked, and categorized. Now the big calculation.
The moment of truth. Total cash inflow, total cash outflow, net cash flow.
Net cash flow. What does that number actually tell you?
Right. It's what's left. Jordan calls it your power, because this is the money you now have the awareness and ability to actively direct. You choose where it goes.
And there are 2 outcomes. Positive net cash flow. Surplus.
Fantastic. Your income beat your expenses for that period. Now you decide. Build the emergency fund faster. Attack high-interest debt. Boost investments. Can your investments finally beat Uber Eats?
All right. And if it's negative net cash flow.
First thing, don't panic. Jordan stresses this. It's just information. It means, for that tracked period, more went out than came in. Not a failure, just a data point.
And that data point means look at the categories. See where adjustments can happen.
Precisely. Where did the money go? Usually you look at the wants category first. Can you trim some discretionary spending? Or if wants are already leaned, you need to look at increasing inflow. The categories show you where to focus.
It does sound, like Raj says, less painful than a budget. More like figuring out a puzzle.
It really does. You're the puzzle master, arranging the pieces, your income and expenses to create the picture you want. It's your personalized financial roadmap, not some generic, rigid thing.
Which leads perfectly into the homework. The actionable steps you can take right now.
Yeah, framed as, should you choose to accept it? Makes it feel less like a chore, more like a mission. And the core instruction, be David Attenborough, observe your dollars.
Okay, so the specific tasks on the checklist. Cash flow kickstart. First, list all income.
Yep, all of it. Get your total inflow.
Second, track every expense for 2 weeks.
Every single penny. Focused observation time.
Third, categorize that spending. Fixed needs, variable needs, wants, financial goals.
Make sense of the data.
Fourth, calculate your net cash flow for those 2 weeks. See if you're in surplus or deficit.
Find out where you stand.
Fifth, identify one leaky faucet, one surprising spending area, and plan one small fix.
Just one. Don't try to fix everything at once. Small, targeted change.
And finally, share your most ridiculous expense with a friend.
Yeah, laugh about it. Takes the sting out, makes it less isolating. We all do silly things with money sometimes. Learn, laugh, move on.
That quote sums it up well. It's not about guilt. It's about gaining control. Knowledge is power, and power buys really good groceries.
Love that. Control is the goal. Knowledge is the tool. And good groceries are a nice bonus.
And Zara's plan, one extra home-cooked meal per delivery, making Michelin-star ramen, shows how small, positive changes work better than total deprivation.
Totally. It's about conscious trade-offs, not just cutting everything out, making it sustainable.
The chapter also has that bad advice bingo section, tackling common money myths.
Yeah, it's a fun way to debunk unhelpful ideas like budgets are only for broke people.
Why is that bunk?
Counter, they're for smart people avoiding being broke.
Hmm.
Proactive management is smart, not desperate.
Okay, or if I ignore my spending, it'll fix itself.
Counter. That's not a strategy, that's a fantasy novel. Ignoring problems doesn't solve them. Need that awareness.
How about credit card points are basically free money?
Hmm?
Tempting.
Counter. Not if you're carrying a high interest balance. The interest cost wipes out the rewards value fast. Debt first.
You only live once. Just spend it. The YOLO argument.
Counter. You also retire once. Don't YOLO on instant noodles. Balance short-term fun with long-term needs.
And the big one. Tracking expenses is too hard.
The pragmatic counter. Not harder than needing to work an extra 10 years to retire. Puts the effort in perspective, right?
Yeah, definitely. So these are like warnings, don't fall for these common traps. Focus on your actual cash flow reality.
Exactly. Ditch the myths. Embrace the data.
So, wrapping up our look at Chapter 1, the big shift is clear. Ditch the old-school restrictive budget idea.
And embrace this more active, empowering cash flow management concept.
And the absolute core message seems to be, understanding where your money is going is step one. You got to know that first.
You absolutely have to. That awareness, that non-judgmental observation, that's where the power comes from. The power to then tell your money where you actually want it to go.
Makes you the director, not just someone watching the movie unfold, maybe unhappily.
Precisely. And the chapter gives you that starter kit, the checklist, to begin gaining that awareness immediately.
It really does try to make it feel manageable, doesn't it? Like a process of discovery.
Yeah, less daunting, more like solving your own financial puzzle.
So, thinking about all this shift from restriction to direction, if you, listening right now, were to really observe where your money's been going lately, what story is it telling? Does that story match the one you think you're living? The one you want to be living?